17 million units sold. What was that about how Super Mario Bros. Wonder wasn't successful, how it wasn't a big deal, how it was a nothing burger, how this wasn't going to leave an impact, how it would never, ever surpass Super Mario Bros. 3? It's like a couple 100,000 units away from outselling Super Mario Bros. 3. Okay? Mario Wonder, with this re-release, the Switch 2 version is going to outpace Mario 3 and establish itself as one of the best-selling Nintendo games ever. It's in it's at 33 in their top 100 list now. I think in theory it could probably crack the top 25, okay? If not the top 20, okay? Mario Wonder is huge. This extremely well-received game, everybody loves it. Nobody has anything bad to say about it. And yet, we had all of these old boomer retards, telling us that, oh, yeah, this game's too easy, it's childish, oh, Mario was so much better when I was a kid, oh, man, when I got to World 4 and I saw those giant enemies, I pissed myself with excitement, it was so badass. I have seen so many people write off Mario Wonder over the past several years, and this, to me, is the most telltale sign that all of the copes we have seen regarding 2D Mario and Nintendo in general really need to die, because we've seen this over the past 5 years where a lot of games that have come out that have been completely written off, whether they're Nintendo Switch Sports or Mario Wonder or what have you, not only become successful but essentially crack Nintendo's top 100 bestsellers ever, okay? People hated Nintendo Switch Sports. I am probably the only YouTuber on the planet that understood how successful Switch Sports was, okay? I was the only person talking about how good that game was, I was one of the very few talking about how good Mario Wonder was, when I finished Mario Wonder, I declared it to be the best 2D Mario game of all time. It's probably my all-time favorite Mario game now. And yet, we're still in this awkward phase where you have people just kind of doing their thing, trying to downplay it, trying to make this out to be some huge disaster, trying to make this out to be a disappointment that nobody cares about, when in actuality this is probably going to be the 2D Mario game that people play for the next decade or so. This is crazy. The definitive 2D Mario of the 2010s, okay? This is a big deal, okay? The 2020s, I should say. This is a big deal, okay? This game is huge. A huge cultural phenomenon. A huge impact. This game's had a huge impact on the community, on gaming. When it comes to Nintendo, the sales, they're producing merch on it. What exactly did this game do that led to so many people disrespecting it? And I do think it does need to be said a lot, that the people who complained about Mario Wonder are the kind of people who are old, bitter, and incapable of letting go of their childhoods. Okay, they were incapable of comparing Mario Wonder to Super Mario Bros. 3 and acknowledging that Mario Wonder was superior. I don't think it's a coincidence that everybody who is spurging out about this, also spurged out about New Super Mario Bros., also spurged out about Super Mario Land, also spurged out about Super Mario World, also spurged out about Mario 64 and the 3D games in general, spurg out about the spin-offs, spurg out about the party games, spurg out about Mario Kart. No matter what happens, these people would always put Mario 3 on a pedestal and refuse to acknowledge that for a long time, the industry had moved past it. They didn't want to acknowledge that Nintendo surpassed Mario 3 a long time ago, because the narrative has always been that Sonic the Hedgehog came out and completely made Nintendo irrelevant overnight. And of course, that was never true. That was always a cope. That was always just a game journal plant. Mario 3 in a lot of ways is the symbol of the idea that Nintendo used to be cool. And so, like, in dismantling it, in acknowledging that Mario Wonder is indeed better than Mario 3, it sold more than Mario 3, it's more popular than Mario 3, people will play it longer than Mario 3. Like tearing down Mario 3 is how, the myth of Mario 3, I should say, is how we kind of move towards the future. A future where we can actually admit that new Mario games are good. Without having to go through this song and dance where you just have people like sitting there and going like, well, it's never going to be as good as Mario 3. Like that cope was old and tired when Mario World came out. Okay, there have been too many great Mario games that have been downplayed and ignored because of this nonsense. This is one of the most insane copes that I have ever seen on the platform. And what's even more remarkable is just how many people are kind of sleeping on what this means. Because Mario Wonder was a game that was pretty successfully downplayed. Like nobody was talking about it, nobody acknowledged it as Game of the Year, nobody was saying this is going to be a big deal. And yet, like, it's done gangbusters. It's this huge success story. It's going to outsell Baldur's Gate 3 long term. It's going to outsell like all these other games. It's going to stay relevant forever. Okay, like forever and ever and ever. Like, it's something that, like, people didn't even consider when this came out. That this would go on to be a major cultural, like, milestone and an icon of, like, 2D platforming. But, like, what other 2D platformer have you played in the past 20 years that's as good as this? Like, the simple fact of the matter is, like, nothing even really comes close. If you cite, like, a 2D indie game, like, I'll just laugh at you. But, like, again, the entire mindset that, like, 2D Mario doesn't matter, that this isn't, like, a genre that anybody cares about, that this is, like, some old, outdated thing, that is complete boomer horseshit, and we really need to get to the point where we can kind of acknowledge this, like, as it happens. Because the only reason we've gone through this weird character arc where, like, everyone tries to tell you that, like, Mario Wonder was a failure, that it wasn't popular, that nobody cared about, it was entirely because it was a 2D game. Like, that is the only reason people were disrespecting it. The only real reason people were condemning this game, and, like, why there was this, like, refusal to acknowledge this as the best game of 2023. Like, well, we can't give it to a 2D platformer. This isn't the 1980s. Like, this was a milestone when it came to 2D platformers, I think, in which it completely reinvented the genre. It introduced new exciting concepts. It really added a lot of replay value to the experience and really hit it out of the park when it came to its visual design, its gameplay, its mechanics, its excellent story, which far surpasses The Last of Us Part 2, Baldur's Gate, Life is Strange, and any other story-driven game you can name. Like, Mario Wonder was awesome, okay? Mario Wonder was fantastic, and it is embarrassing how the vast majority of the community just refuse to acknowledge it.